Greetings everyone and welcome back to the channel for another 1/6 scale figure unboxing and review. Today we're doing something a little bit different on Go Figure with a part one of a two-part special where we'll be taking a deep dive into Blitzway's take on possibly the most famous serial killer of all time. Yes, it's Hannibal Lecter himself, as played by Sir Anthony Hopkins in the now classic 1991 movie The Silence of the Lambs. The reviews will be taking the usual format. We'll have a quick look at the box, then we'll be diving down onto the table and having a look at all the accessories that come with your Hannibal figure. Then it's out with the figure itself, onto the turntable for an up-close and personal look at Hannibal. Then we'll be zipping over to the detail for a mini showcase to see how this guy displays and wrapping the whole thing up. In part one, we'll be taking a look at the first of the two versions that Blitzway released of this figure about 5 years ago, and that's this one in front of us, the white uniform version. In part two, we'll be taking a look at the straitjacket version, and there'll be a link to that review at the end of this video. So before we get down to it, a bit of background. As viewers to my channel will know, I'm a huge horror fan, so getting these figures was a personal grail and a bit of a no-brainer for me. But it took some time, but I've finally managed to get them both in the collection. The movie itself is considered to be a bit of a classic. If you haven't seen it, I suggest you seek it out. It is, quite simply put, superb. Based on the book by Thomas Harris, the movie did something no other horror movie has done until this point. And that was pretty much a clean sweep at the Oscars. I think it won Best Actor Oscar for Anthony Hopkins, Best Actress for Jodie Foster, Best Director for Jonathan Demme. I think in total it won 5 Oscars, which was unprecedented at the time for a horror movie. Well, arguably it's not a horror movie. I sort of consider it more to be a psychological thriller, but the line is fine, shall we say. But that's enough about the movie, other than the fact that it spawned some sequels and prequels, and probably barring Hannibal, directed by Ridley Scott, there's not much to see here. But yeah, before we get started, before we take a look at the box, what I'd like to do as well is just say a huge thank you to everybody who's liked, commented and subscribed to the channel, everyone who's supported the channel. Massive thank you for doing that. It's your subscriptions that keep us going. And if you haven't already, please hit that subscribe button, mash that bell notification icon so you don't miss any more of the content that's coming up, and there is a lot more coming up. As usual, we'll list the up-and-comers before we zip over to the detail, but yeah, let's take a look at this box itself. Now, people who know Blitzway will be familiar with their boxes. They're not particularly large at the front, but they're very deep at the sides here. And this is a very, very nice box, I must admit. On the front here, it's very simple. All you've got is an image of the figure itself, the head sculpt of the figure, which we will come to. At the bottom here, in sort of this rather nice foil lettering, I don't know if the camera's picking up, it says Silence of the Lambs, and the Blitzway bits and pieces at the bottom there. Blitzway at the top, MGM in the top left. Bring this box round, and as you can see, very deep. I'm not sure I'll get all this in shot. I will move the camera back ever so slightly. Yeah, on the side here, very, very simple. Silence of the Lambs, Hannibal Lecter, white prison uniform version. Blitzway 1/6 scale collectible figure. Same on the other side, same on the top as well. And on the back, we've got the credits and the usual warnings. Don't piss this figure off, or it might eat your liver with some fava beans and a nice Chianti. But yeah, that's the box itself. Very, very simple, very, very nice, very, very well presented. So without further ado, let's dive down onto the table and have a look at all the accessories you get with your Hannibal figure. Okay, so here we are down on the table with all the accessories that come with your Blitzway Hannibal figure. From the get-go, I'd just like to say that this isn't a brand new figure. It isn't new to me, although I did get it new. It's been in the collection for quite some time. Putting that to one side, let's dive into the accessories, because there's an awful lot to look at here, so let's just jump straight in. Let's get the usual stuff out of the way first. The stand, it comes with the normal Blitzway stand, which is a plastic base with no feet on it, with the usual poles, and as you can see, these haven't come out of the plastic that slot into here when you take the bottom off. Then you put on this sort of rabbit-eared looking piece onto the poles itself. I'm keeping this brief, and then you have the choice of either a crotch grabber or a waist grabber to go with it. I'm getting these out of the way first because they're pretty much useless. These stands from Blitzway are not good, and it's one of the things that does, if anything lets them down, it's this. But really everything else is pretty much of the level that we come to expect from Blitzway. But yeah, this stand I feel is, I don't like them, don't use them, or very rarely use them unless I've got something else to hand. But yeah, we'll get this out of the way to start with so we can make some space. So yeah, that's the useless stand. What else do you get? Sets of instructions. We'll get the boring stuff out of the way first. There's a set of instructions on how to actually pose the figure, how to use the accessories, and how to attach the arms. The arms themselves, we're not looking at hands here, we're looking at whole arms, and these arms are magnetized. But we'll come to that when we actually get the figure out itself and when we take a closer look at them. So yeah, set of instructions, and a set of instructions for the useless stand as well, if you need them. So we'll put those to one side. What else? Okay, let's start with these arms. Now, you get one joined pair of arms and then 3 separate arms. There's none on the figure at the moment. I'll take them all off, so we're looking at all of them here. So let's dive in with one. Let's take a look at this straight arm first. Let's get it into the camera. The magnets themselves are quite deep inside the arm and simply slot into the protruding areas on the figure, which we'll take a look at when it comes out. But yeah, the arms themselves pretty well painted. Now, I mean, I think this figure is 5/6 years old, and I've always, I mean, this is a personal opinion. Please don't take this as a holy truth, but my personal opinion is that Blitzway, over the years, especially 5, maybe 6 years ago when this figure was released, their skin painting wasn't the best in the world, and it looks a bit matte, a bit flat to me. Although the actual sculpt itself is very, very good. I mean, as you can see, there are creases in the elbow here. There's vein work. There is a bit of a seam that runs down there, an unfortunate seam. But the creases in the handwork are pretty good. I mean, unfortunately, there's been what looks like an error in sculpting here, and there's a piece of plastic between these two fingers. Well, I say plastic, yeah. These are a very, very rigid plastic. There's very little give in them at all, especially in the hands. But yeah. There's some reddening on the knuckles. The creasing in the fingers is very, very good. There's some nail work there. Yeah, I mean, the sculpt itself is pretty good. To me, what lets it down a little bit is the matte nature of this paintwork. But it is what it is, and it's a slightly older figure. That continues throughout. You've also got... well, we'll take a look at this one. I mean, basically, these are a right and a left arm, and they're pretty much identical for a neutral pose, either on the stand or freestanding. So yeah, you get 2 of those. We'll put those to one side. You get this arm. Now, this bent arm with the gripping hand is designed for holding the baton that we'll take a look at in a moment to recreate the scene where he bludgeons the police officer to death to the strains of, and now I can't remember what the piece of music is, but yeah, I'll check that off camera. So yeah, it's the same quality of paint applications and sculpt here. There's a reddening on the knuckles, there are veins in the hands. Yeah, pretty good, although suffering with that slightly matte paint work, as we mentioned before. At this point, actually, we'll take a look at the baton itself, because this is specifically designed for gripping this baton. Now, it's all one piece of plastic, pretty well sculpted, looks authentic, it's nice and shiny. It's a police baton. Now, it's meant to be gripped, and now there are a number. This is one of the issues. This hand simply will not hold this baton. Now, I've tried it on a few occasions in posing, and what's ended up happening is, and because this is really, really stiff, I mean, you could use a hairdryer on this to give it some pliability and give it a go, but on first attempt, all I managed to do was put a lot of black marks on the inside of this hand, which is not ideal. I've managed to get most of them off, and it's not a pose I normally go with the baton, so it's not really an issue, but it's there. But I would suggest if you are going to go for that pose, as you can see there on the thumb, that's the main area where it rubs on trying to get in. If you are going to go for this pose, use a hairdryer on the hands or hot water prior to actually putting this baton in. So yeah, we'll put the baton to one side because we've covered that. That's the baton gripping arm. And finally, with the arms are the crossed hands double arm set. Now this is very nice. This is the sort of the one I prefer to use in my display. But let's just bring these lights around a little bit so we can get a little bit more light on these. Now, once again, it's all one piece, and it's all one piece of that very tough plastic. It's the same quality of paint application and sculpt as we've seen on the other arms. There's vein work in there. Fingernails are well picked out. The texturing on the skin, creasing on the elbows. There are some visible seams, but they're not massively intrusive. The camera's picking that up. I'll try and get in there. There's a seam that runs down there, but on the whole, very good. As I say, the only complaint I have about any of these arms and about any of the actual skin paintwork is it comes off just to me as being a tad matte, but maybe that's me being pedantic. I had the same slight issue, although it wasn't as pronounced as this, with the Blitzway Ghostbuster figures that I reviewed recently on the channel. Check out the review. But yeah, that's the arms. So what else do you get? Arms out of the way. Let's take a look at these bits and pieces. You also get a very nice, and this is just card. It's one of the many takes on the poster art from the film, so that's nice, and use that in display if you want to. You also get a couple of the pictures that Hannibal has in his cell. There's this one, which I believe is screen accurate and is actually on the wall, and I think there are some discussions as to whether that's meant to be Clarice's eye, and maybe a tear there, due to the silence of the lambs. But yeah, nice if you want to use it in the display. You've also got this picture, which I believe is meant to be one of Hannibal's sketches that he has on the wall in his cell. Apparently it's the Palazzo Vecchio and the Duomo as seen from the Fort de Belvedere. I need to get out more often, but yeah, great for the display, and I do use these. I mean, as viewers to my channel know, I use Detolfs and I have these on the back, but we'll see that in the showcase that we do at the end. So yeah, great for the display. Those are there if you want them. What else do we have? Let's take a look at these two really tiny pieces. Very small they are too. You get a 6-scale pen, and this is absolutely minute. It really is. Very easily lost, so exercise caution if you're not using it in the display where you store it. And all it is simply a 6-scale pen, painted in grey, a little bit of weathering on the end there, painted black where the button is on the top. And this is the pen that he uses to pick the handcuffs and escape and do all kinds of unpleasantness. So, yep, that's there if you want it as well. Talking of small 6-scale stuff, you also get this pocket knife. And once again, this is the knife that Hannibal uses in that particularly gruesome scene where he, shall we say, removes a police officer's face. That's a polite way of putting it. But yeah, now this is fully functional. It's all one piece of sculpted plastic, very delicate. So I would say if you are picking this up, either new or pre-owned, exercise caution with this. But the paintwork is really, really nice. The camera is catching this. There are what looks like fish on the handle. The handle itself has been painted white to give it that sort of ivory look, even down to the back of the knife having a different colour tone. But yeah, very, very nice indeed. And the rivets have been picked out too. And the knife itself, I'll get this as close in as I can. The knife itself, I don't know whether we're focusing here. Hang on a second, let's see if this camera will... It does not want to focus on this knife, but the blade itself has actually got weathering on it. It's got some dry brushing on there, and which is just really, really nice on something this small to have been dry brushed and weathered ever so slightly. So yeah, that's your 6-scale knife. Set of handcuffs. What would it be without handcuffs? Props to Blitzway straight away. These are metal, all metal, the chain included, and they are fully functional. So you can use these in the display if you want. I often pose in with just one arm in the handcuffs, maybe holding the baton, or just sat in the chair. But yeah, it's great to have them. They really do add an extra element of depth to the display, and the fact that they've been this well sculpted, all out of metal, props to Blitzway. So yeah, there are your handcuffs. Let's have a quick look at this rug before we look at the final piece, which is the chair. You get this rug. Now, when you get this this figure, if you are picking it up, new or pre-owned, this actually comes rolled up in a very, very tight tube. So when you get it, you need to obviously get it out, lie it flat, and put something heavy on it to flatten it out. But once it's flattened out, it does retain its flatness, so to speak. So yeah, I'm not quite sure what material this is. It's got a sort of a felt feeling to it, but it's quite thick. The screen accuracy, I can't attest to, even though I have seen this film more times than I care to remember. I'd need to revisit it to check whether this is actually 100% screen accurate, but it looks it to me. And it's the rug that he has in the centre of his cell, the barred cell. So yeah, you get that as well if you're wanting to use that in your display. Very nice. The colours are nice. The colours, I believe, are screen accurate, pattern screen accurate. Finally, the chair itself, and you get this rather nice chair. Now, all plastic. This piece. It swivels at the bottom. The whole thing, as I say, is sculpted plastic. It's not particularly heavy because it is plastic. It's got some nice paint washes on it. The paint washes on here and with a varnished look to give it that wood effect. It's continued underneath, around the back. The screen accuracy, once again, I would have to revisit the film to double check, but I'm pretty certain it's there. The legs have that same wood effect paintwork on them, that high gloss wood effect paintwork, and on the bottom here you've got plastic casters, and very nice they are too. One thing that we'll discuss now, and it's one of the downsides of this figure. We'll get him out and pose it so you can actually see it when we bring the figure out, is that with these casters on this rather nice chair, and if you have him sat in the chair, his feet don't reach the floor. Which, now I don't know whether this was an oversight on Blitzway's part, whether it was intentional, whether his feet didn't actually touch the floor in the film. I find that probably is highly improbable, but yeah, I don't know whether it's just an error in scale, but yeah, it's just one of those little niggles that maybe it's good to be aware of if you're thinking of getting this figure. That yeah, for some reason his feet don't touch the floor. It has been on my list of things to do to actually remove these casters, because if these were to be taken off, then his feet would reach the floor. But I haven't got round to it as of yet. It is, as I say, on my list of things to do. So that's the chair. Very nice it is too, apart from being too tall. So that's all the accessories that come with your Hannibal figure, your white prison uniform version. So without further ado, let's bring out the main event himself. Let's bring out Hannibal the Cannibal. Let's get him onto the stand, onto the turntable, and have an up-close and personal look at him. Okay, so here he is on the stand, onto the turntable, everybody's favourite cannibal. It's Hannibal Lecter himself. And I can't give first impressions because I've had this figure for quite some time. I personally think straight away, I think it's very, very good. There are some issues, but we're going to touch on those, the ones that we haven't touched on already. Eagle-eyed amongst you will notice I haven't bothered constructing the useless Blitzway stand. I've gone with a generic stand. I had a go, ironically. I thought I'll give it a shot because it's only fair to have him displayed the way he's intended to by Blitzway on that stand, and I gave up. It very nearly got thrown out of a window. Yeah, but that's enough about the useless stand. So, the man himself, let's have a close-up look at this guy. As always, what we'll do is we'll start at the bottom, work our way up, and take a close-up look at the outfit, the head sculpt, and everything else. So let's stop him from spinning, let's not speed him up, let's slow him down. That always helps. And take a closer look at this guy. Right, as I say, from the bottom up, At the bottom here, we've got these sneakers, these white sneakers, which are screen accurate from this particular scene and outfit. They're all one piece of sculpted plastic, no split cut boot design here, simply pegged straight onto the legs themselves. There's a little bit of weathering on there. I will bring this, I'll just drop the camera and move it in a little bit so we can get a bit closer on these. I'll bring him in. There is some weathering on there, on the just very, very light. It's nothing particularly heavy. As I say, there's not much in the way of paint applications here, although there's been 2 or 3 because there are some slight tonal changes from the front of the shoe to the sides and the back and the stripes on the sides. But yeah, pretty screen accurate and pretty effective. Working our way up, the legs themselves, simple white cotton trousers. And it's fair to say as well at this point, the proportions are absolutely spot on. That's one thing that Blitzway have really nailed here. The proportions of Anthony Hopkins are absolutely on point. But yeah, so there are simple cotton pants which fall very, very well, look screen accurate. The stitching is very, very nice around the waistline here. We'll bring him round so you can see at the sides here. Once again, very, very nice, and it feels like a high quality cotton. It's got a nice feel to it. Around the back, same quality of stitching. There are belt loops, but no belt, which is once again screen accurate. Functioning pockets at the back. Not that you'd want to use them, I don't think, on this figure. But yeah, just very, very simple, very, very well done. Let's bring him back round and let's bring this camera back up and back out a little bit so we can forgive the camera wobble. Let's move him back ever so slightly. Yeah, so moving up, what you've got is a simple white t-shirt. At this point as well, it's fair to say, from pretty much, it's around here, the waist area here, the body is padded underneath. So obviously the body they used didn't have quite the right proportions, and that's another thing here. You can actually see, and I don't know whether this is simply due to time, and aging, shall we say, of the clothing itself. But you can actually see some of the ridges, I think, and I don't know whether that's the body or the actual protruding underneath, or whether that's actually the padding itself. But it's padded all the way up over the shoulders, ending at the shoulders there. Well, it's pretty much ending here. But yeah, simple plain cotton white t-shirt, prison number on the breast there. And yeah, this simply is what it is. It's a plain white t-shirt. There's nothing fancy here with this outfit. The actual padding, I don't know whether the camera is picking this up, but underneath the head there you can see it's almost like a vest padding he's got underneath, which is becoming visible. As I said, I don't know whether that's age or whether all the figures sort of displayed that characteristic. But yeah, it is visible underneath, which is not brilliant, but it's only for those really eagle-eyed would spot that. If you weren't looking for it, I don't think you'd see it. Yeah, so that's the outfit itself. Let's just pull back a little bit because we're cutting his head off, and raise up again if there's some more give in this tripod. The arms themselves, as we mentioned before, the accessory section, are magnetically attached, and they simply pull out. Magnets in there, as we spoke about before. I'll actually take him off the turntable at this point, and actually we'll bring the camera in because I don't want to lose the light on this, so we can get a closer look at this. Just angle these lights around and we can take a look at the head sculpt while we're here as well. Yeah, now simply roll up the sleeves to change the arms out. Let's move this turntable out of the way for this section. Keep the standing shot. The arms themselves are relatively short, if you will, at the cut-off point. So you've also got some space here for manoeuvre because this actually slots into the arm itself. But to swap them out is relatively simple. You simply roll up the sleeve and Bob's your uncle, and then finagle the sleeve back over the top of the arm itself. So you can swap out your arms at your leisure. We'll leave that one on for the time being. It can be a little bit fiddly. When you are putting these on, doing this on camera is not the easiest thing in the world. Is to catch this t-shirt in the joint itself. So once you've actually got that thing on, it can take a little bit of Perhaps not the easiest thing in the world to do on camera. Let me just lower this so I can get this arm back on while we're still shooting. Yeah, just a little bit of finagling like that, and there it is, back on again. We'll pop him back on this stand and pull back out again. So the arm's relatively straightforward to swap out. Let's take a look at this head sculpt. In actual fact, let's bring this head sculpt into shot. And herein lies a lot of controversy. Let's just pull this back for a second. Let's just pull the camera back for a second. And I've kept the box in shot here for this very reason. Now, as 6-scale figure collectors will know, there is very often a discrepancy, shall we say, to the prototype and the promotional shots of a figure and the actual head sculpt itself when it's delivered. And this one caused a little bit of, how shall we say, ripples, that's a polite way of putting it, upon its release, because the shots on the box here, I believe, are the prototype, and there were quite a few images released of this prototype, and a lot of people weren't happy that this did not match this. And yes, it doesn't match that. There's far more detail here. There's black and darker areas under the eyes. There's more texturing of the skin. There are more skin tonal variations. There's more detail here. And a lot of people weren't happy. But if you actually take that image out of your mind, and actually what we'll do is we'll just move the box out the way, because it can be a little bit off-putting. We'll take this off camera entirely. Just bear with me a second, because it can be off-putting looking at that. And we'll put that to one side, and we'll take a look at this head sculpt as it stands on its own. Now let me just angle the lights in a little bit here. We'll bring the camera closer in so we can see this head sculpt. Now, it's a fixed neck head sculpt, so there's no removable head, just comes with the one. Now, honestly, I don't think it deserved some of the criticism that it got. Yes, it's not the same as the prototype and the promotional shots. But I would challenge that with which 6-scale figure is. I think they've done a very, very good job here. Yes, I'm not keen on this matte skin painting. I think the skin painting itself could have been better. But on the whole, I think this is a very, very accurate representation of Anthony Hopkins as he appears in Silence of the Lambs. The sculpt is absolutely spot on. Yeah, from any angle, it's Anthony Hopkins. It's Hannibal Lecter. The hair is very well done. There are individual strands picked out there. The glassiness of the eyes is there. The colour of the eyes is right and screen accurate. And just from every angle, to me, that is Anthony Hopkins in Silence of the Lambs. It's Hannibal Lecter all over. Yes, you can say it's not as good as the original prototype, but as a standalone, I think it is very, very good, and perhaps wasn't deserving of some of the criticism that this got. Now, this is shot in 4K, so the camera doesn't lie. Let me know in the comment section below. What's your take? Is this accurate? Is it me? Am I getting it wrong? I'd be really, really interested to hear your opinions on this head sculpt. But yeah, I mean, you've got creases in the forehead there. The eyebrows are done correctly. There is creasing around the eyes. The lips and the nose are perfectly sculpted. Yeah, just overall a really, really good head sculpt, I think. My criticism, if I had to level one, as I've said before, is perhaps the paint applications aren't up to modern standards. And as I say, probably 3 criticisms there. The hands are too tough, needed to be a little bit softer. Paint applications, skin paint applications could have been slightly better. But everything else, to me, is very, very good. And I really, really enjoy having this piece in my collection alongside the other piece that we'll look at in part 2. So there you have it. That is Hannibal Lecter from Silence of the Lambs, courtesy of Blitzway. So what we're going to do next is what we always do, is we're going to zip on over to the Detolf, get this guy posed up, add some of the accessories, and go out with a mini showcase. And also, as I mentioned before, there'll be a link to part 2 of this review, which will be covering the straitjacket version from Blitzway as well. So before we go over to the Detolf, just a quick reminder, please hit that like button, hit that subscribe button, hit that bell notification icon so you're not missing anything. As I mentioned before, we've got lots more coming up. What have we got coming up? Literally in transit as we speak, we've got the Iconic Studios Muhammad Ali, that's coming in. We've got the BM Projects Kaneda's bike from Akira. To go with the Tetsuo figure the Kaneda figure that we reviewed recently on the channel. If you've not seen it, please check out that review. We've got the NECA Alien Queen. We've got a lot more 12 scale stuff coming up as well, 12 scale reviews and retro reviews. Dragon in Dreams, Maverick, Tom Cruise, that's coming in, that's on its way. Star Race, Marshmallow Man to go with our Blitzway Ghostbusters. The 6-lane Riddler from The Batman, that's on its way as well. And Hot Toys Dead Strange will finally be landing, hopefully within the next few days as well. So all that stuff is up and coming. So as I say, please hit that subscribe button, hit that bell notification icon so you're not missing anything. So all that remains for me to say is thank you for watching. Please tune into part 2 of this review. Take care of yourselves, happy collecting, and it's over to the Detolf.